Welcome back to Pop Dissected. Today, we're going to be talking about rapper Iggy Azalea, her rise to fame, and her drastic fall from it. After her hit singles Fancy and Black Widow, Iggy seemed to be coming up as one of the hottest female rappers of the 2010s. But all the hype and expectations were short-lived. Her career has free-fallen since 2015, and though she's tried to breathe new life with her sophomore album, In My Defense, it hasn't seemed to help her one bit. Let's take a look back at Iggy's career and see what has set her back from her trailblazing start, and then discuss if there is a way she can reignite her career. But before we begin, be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more future content on all your favorite pop stars. Azalea's first release as an artist was her debut mixtape, Ignorant Art, released September 27th of 2011. She recorded the mixtape while living in Los Angeles, which she had just moved to in 2010. Prior to that, she had been living in Florida following her migration from Australia. Azalea stated she was very much involved in the hip-hop scene of Southern Miami, in which that influence can be seen in her accent on Ignorant Art. The Southern influence is present in this mixtape, as well as crude sexuality. This was something that was actually criticized about her mixtape, yet Azalea stood her ground, stating a powerful, sexy woman is vulgar, and her music is more about than just her vagina. Interestingly enough, she goes on to say that what she creates in her music would be far less controversial in Australia rather than America. While Ignorant Art was met with mixed reviews, some seeing it as aggressive and, as the title suggests, ignorant, others felt Azalea's music was raw, really defining a clear message of an upcoming artist who isn't falling under anyone's own expectations. Furthermore, others went to say this mixtape was forward-thinking and essentially envelope-pushing. I think what's interesting about this mixtape is Azalea's inspiration from actual artists and their respective art movements. Azalea stated the title of Ignorant Art was inspired by Jean-Michel Basquiat, a neo-expressionist artist who used his art to bring attention to various social commentaries. She goes on making the claim Basquiat felt labeled as a black artist, and Azalea felt the same, as she didn't want to be seen as a white rapper, just a rapper. Additionally, the cover to Ignorant Art is a remake of a poster both Basquiat and Andy Warhol created together in 1985. This recognition brought to Azalea from Ignorant Art led her to sign to rapper T.I.'s label, Grand Hustle, in March of 2012. However, at the time, Azalea did have the intention of signing to Interscope Records, and there were major negotiations regarding her signing to that label. She had even announced at this point, in just December of 2011, her debut record, The New Classic, would be releasing in 2012. However, Azalea justified her signing to Grand Hustle as she felt more free with that label, where she felt she was more of a deal rather than a person at Interscope. While having the intent to release the new classic under Grand Hustle, Azalea would go to release her debut EP, Glory, on July 30th of 2012. She stated her EP, in a way, was a way to test the waters and see what audiences responded to so she could have that direction for a full-length record. The title itself refers to Azalea feeling the confidence that she'll get her glory after all the roadblocks she's endured trying to rise in her own career. The EP received generally positive reviews, critics noting Azalea's growth from her mixtape and the experimentation she implemented on the EP. Azalea's second mixtape, Trap Gold, released October 11th of 2012. Once more, we're seeing influences from famous artists, in which the mixtape samples interviews from artists such as Andy Warhol and Salvador Dali. Azalea stated she wanted to make something truly experimental and go against what people would expect her to release. With all her releases thus far, she stated the new classic, in a way, would incorporate all these different sounds and ideas she's created across her releases. The mixtape received positive reviews, many claiming Azalea was more confident than ever, and that her music makes audiences desire her more. So with this, we see a lot of things being established. First and foremost, there's a specific inspiration Azalea draws from, and what all her art is rooted in one way or another. Secondly, with each release, she's become more critically praised and recognized, to its own degree. Over the course of a year, Azalea's career was rising, and there were no signs of stopping. And after many label negotiations and delays in creating her debut record, Azalea would finally sign to Island Def Jam Music Group in 2013. Throughout the year, Azalea acted as a supporting act on tours for such as Beyoncé's Mrs. Carter Show World Tour and Rita Ora's Radioactive Tour. Azalea also released 3 singles off the new classic in 2013, and was featured on 4 singles by various artists. Work, her debut single, only managed to reach 54 on the Hot 100, while the 2 succeeding singles, Bounce and Change Your Life, failed to chart. However, all 3 of the singles were well received by music critics, with Work being critically praised. In January of 2014, Azalea stated her debut record would be released in April. However, on February 17th of 2014, Iggy Azalea released Fancy, the song that launched her right into the height of her career and brought her into the forefront of everyone's mind. Saying this song was huge is an understatement. It reached number 1 on 10 charts, including the Hot 100, Canadian Hot 100, Australian Urban Chart, and the Recorded Music New Zealand chart. The song has been certified 7 times platinum in the United States as well. Azalea's success would only continue with her feature on Ariana Grande's Problem, which peaked at number 2 on the Hot 100 and number 1 on a variety of Billboard charts. And Azalea's single success would still continue with the release of Black Widow, which peaked at number 3 on the Hot 100, but also reached number 1 on Billboard charts as well. The new classic released April 21st, 2014, debuting at number 3 on the Billboard 200 with 52,000 copies within its first week. The record received 1 AMA nomination, 2 ARIA nominations, a Grammy, and a Billboard Music Award nomination. Despite 2 massive hit singles and receiving some notable nominations, the record was less well received compared to her previous efforts. There were criticisms that the record had strayed so far from what Azalea had established in her earlier works. Therefore, it came off as inauthentic. Some even went as far to claim it as one of the worst records of 2014, and others said it was a bunch of filler tracks with, a few hit singles. However, a few positive reviewers commented that Azalea was presenting relatability in her record that would connect to her audience, and that a lot of talent was interwoven with her flow. And this is where the success train gets derailed and falls into oblivion. It's a full stop. She reissued her debut, which peaked at number 15 on the Billboard 200, which isn't bad by any means, but the 2 singles off the record, Beg For It and Trouble, peaked at 27 and 67 respectively, a massive decline from her last 2 hits. But the controversies surrounding Azalea began to take center stage over her music. Now, I know there's a long line of controversies dating back to 2011, so I'm just going to briefly go over some of the most damning ones that really hurt her public image. And I'll let you all be the ones to judge and comment on these controversies. So, numerous racist tweets by Azalea surfaced, and she didn't really do much to damage control other than saying she can't make jokes anymore because of her celebrity status. Yikes. She was accused of using a black voice, quote, a blaccent, in which she just dismissed it and didn't really show any understanding or empathy. Double yikes. Iggy was slammed for criticizing Lord's performance with the living members of Nirvana. Iggy was criticized for having ghostwriters, which Nicki Minaj called out at the 2014 BET Awards. However, Azalea did respond more adequately this time around. Iggy has been slammed time and time again for appropriating rap, and a lot of people felt, and I'm paraphrasing, she was a white woman trying to take dominance in a genre she did not belong to, which interestingly ties into Azalea's outlook earlier about wanting to be seen as a rapper, not a white rapper. Iggy got into a fight with the paparazzi in a parking lot. She was criticized for not speaking up about Black Lives Matter, where many accused her of using black culture for fame, but not giving attention to issues affecting black individuals. Iggy feuded with Papa John's Pizza. What the fuck? She indirectly said Britney Spears was the reason for their collaboration, Pretty Girls, not performing better. I think one of the most harsh things we've seen has been Halsey expressing her fascination with Azalea's career, quote, dissolving, in which Azalea did respond with some class, in some way. There's a whole bunch of drama with Azalea Banks that I'm not even going to unpack, but here are some screenshots. And also, Iggy had a lyric in which she compared herself to a runaway slave. All this drama did nothing but destroy Iggy Azalea's career. While I definitely think part of this is her debut not reflecting her previous efforts that were well received, I have to say that this drama just overtook everything else. I think first and foremost, industry executives are not going to work with a drama case. They don't want their label or brand to be associated with someone who is seemingly constantly causing trouble and is being accused of things left and right. And it didn't seem like Iggy's label was doing anything to damage control any of these controversies. While Azalea may have modestly responded to a few issues, the way she handled most of her drama was immature and not flattering. It made her unlikable. Unlikable to audiences, unlikable to industry peers, and unlikable to industry executives. How do you promote and work with an artist who has a scandal or controversy every other week? I think the biggest issue we have here is that Azalea just did not handle any of these issues well, and it reflected poorly on her image. Following the bulk of the controversies, Azalea would go on to have her Great Escape tour canceled because of low ticket sales. She teased a 2016 record, Digital Distortion, yet it never came to fruition as it was canceled. But the lead single, Team, was released, yet only managed to peak at 42 on the Hot 100. Azalea would be featured on a handful of tracks and released droplet singles here and there for the next few years, and acted as a judge on the X Factor Australia. In 2018, she released the EP Survive the Summer under Island Records, which she had signed to a year prior. The EP peaked at 144 on the Billboard 200 and received mixed to negative reviews from critics. The single Cream was intended to jumpstart Azalea's career, yet it only went to peak at 96 on the Hot 100. Azalea then left Island Records, forming her own independent label known as Bad Dreams. And now we get to where we are today, the lackluster and failed commercial return of Iggy Azalea. Now, don't get me wrong, if you love Iggy and her music and you're a fan, then that's wonderful. And if you support an artist, you do it through all the highs and lows and in-betweens. But even with that, I think there's a time where as a fan, you have to recognize that things just aren't going as planned for your artist, and probably never will again. It's a harsh reality, and it sucks. It isn't fair. Many artists have setbacks, but in the case of Iggy Azalea, I think she's hit a setback she just won't recover from. Her comeback single, Sally Walker, released March 15th of 2019. It was met with positive reviews, many noting how Azalea was turning back to the sound established on her mixtapes. But the track only peaked at 62 on the Hot 100. Not a great start for your sophomore record. And I'll be honest, I like the song. I really do. I think it's fun, and I think it deserved more. But the two succeeding singles, Started and Fuck It Up, failed to chart. And that's no surprise with the lead peaking so low. The interest is just not there. Now, of course, we've discussed artists who have had their second and third singles not chart, yet they had the lead impact high on the charts, so the second and third singles didn't really matter that much. In My Defense released July 19th of 2019, peaking at 50 on the Billboard 200 and number 7 on the US Independent Albums chart. And the reviews, oh boy, you think Iggy would get a break? No way. Some said they felt Iggy was in control of her artistic direction, and that the record was an improvement over her EP Survive the Summer. And they said that her staying out of the mainstream, as if she really had a choice to, helped her hone her artistic strengths. But the negative reviews stated they felt Azalea was creating a rap record on what she thinks rap is, that the music is essentially just a caricature. Some said the record was no fun and lacked any depth. I don't need to say more. Look at the ratings. Honestly, I feel for her. While I don't agree with a lot of what she's gotten herself into, I think it's sad for any one person to never get the success they want, or have their dreams torn from them. Now, to each their own on their opinion of Azalea, but it begs the question, can you separate the art from the artist? Does Azalea deserve to not have her former success because of her controversies? Or should she be forgiven and recognized for her art now and not let her past mistakes define her? Comment down below. While thought to be releasing a reissue of In My Defense, Iggy released another extended play, Wicked Lips, on December 2nd, 2019, which peaked at 42 on the US R&B hip-hop album sales chart. And here we are now. So, is Iggy Azalea gone for good? And what could she do to get back on top, if she even can? Iggy has attempted to reintroduce herself into the public with EPs, mixtapes, and droplet singles, and none of them have helped her get back to where she was in 2014. So, could there be a different approach? I think one big thing is Iggy Azalea's likability. For some general audiences, it just doesn't exist. They want nothing to do with her, and the controversy she's been encased in has sealed her fate. Whether she instigated the dramas or not, the damage is done. While I don't believe Iggy should change who she is, I think she needs to rebrand her image. It could be possible general audiences just don't see anything engaging or new about Iggy. Thus, they feel they have no reason to give her a second chance. One criticism of Iggy has how she's been brash and harsh with her image and her music. Perhaps she could try softening her overall image to something that could be more appealing to a broad range of listeners. But then you drive into the territory of, if she changes her image, will she be betraying her fans and those who have always followed her? It's a double-edged sword. An artist can stay the same and be criticized for it, or they can change and also be criticized for it. Another thing is her music. In My Defense was torn apart by critics, many believing it was below Iggy's potential. This very well could be a reflection of her desperation to finally get a new record out after years of roadblocks. In My Defense seems to lack a clear artistic direction, especially lacking the artistic influences Iggy utilized early in her career. It seems after years of setbacks, drama, and slandering she's dealt with, she may have lost an artistic direction, the one that she's been inspired by from the beginning. We know Iggy Azalea actually attended a mental health treatment program because of a variety of factors inhibiting her state of mind. And of course, one's mental stability comes first, and always should. But I think after finding a clearer state of mind, Iggy didn't approach her music with that clear state of mind, and instantly went back to just what works and what is easy in terms of her music. I personally don't think Iggy is actually channeling an authentic vision anymore with her music, and has been desperate to just put out content. And that's understandable when you've been off the radar for so long. And while I respect Iggy Azalea as an artist, I think it's safe to say she's a one-hit wonder. Well, maybe a 2 or 3 hit wonder. She, like many artists, peaked so early in her career, and while her fall from grace was anything but gradual, I don't believe she'll be able to get back up to those former heights. I think she can reclaim a moderate success in the future, but there's a lot of work that has to go into that and a lot of factors in play. And I think being signed to her own independent record label won't help her achieve mainstream commercial success. But despite that, as I conclude many of my videos with, it's important that Iggy is in a positive state of mind, that she's happy, and she's enjoying the work she's putting out, even if it isn't topping the charts. So, I have to ask, what do you think will come next for Iggy Azalea? Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe for more future content on all your favorite pop stars.